Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, this is an in-between time. I know trout season has begun. In our area, up here, as far north as we are, the streams, the condition of the streams is different to some degree than it is downstate. You know, there's all kinds of reports of people going out April 1st for the beginning of trout season down in central New York, and there were some nice catches. But believe me, it was tough. The water was so high and dirty and cold that it makes fishing, even for trout that have been stocked. And we got to remember this too, downstate, the stocking program is much more aggressive early than it is up here. The DEC doesn't really stock fish up here in, for example, the St. Regis River over in St. Regis Falls and Nickelville and so forth, until later, because they know that the water conditions are so variable and so really detrimental to a new fish that's been put in in an environment that they've never been in before, that they wait a while. But this is a time when I start thinking about what lures am I going to use, where am I going to go when the season begins. It may not ever develop the way I'm thinking, but it's fun to imagine. And it's fun for me to start experimenting with my lures. And what do I mean by that? I take lures, and I want to tell you about a lure that we really haven't talked about, and that's called a swimming jig. And it's a living rubber jig that you would use for jig and pig fishing for bass late in the summer when you throw it out there with a worm and let it sit on the bottom, and those fish come up and hopefully suck it in. Well, this is using those same jigs with living rubber skirts and putting a tail, a soft plastic tail on, but then throwing them out and reeling them back like you would a crankbait or something. Something I really haven't done much in my life, and yet I'm seeing more and more of the pros that talk about this. So what I've been doing is getting some of these swimming jigs, and their head design is such that it makes them look more attractive coming through the water in a swimming motion than just sitting on the bottom, and putting plastic tails on them. So my first impression would be, well, you want a tail that looks like a minnow, because when you start using these in May, you want them to look like a minnow coming through the water. Maybe not. Maybe the fish aren't thinking, geez, the only thing I want to bite right now is a minnow. Maybe they will react to just about anything that's in the water that looks like it's something they should eat. And I watched a couple videos that the pros had done, some of the tackle companies, and their prime pick of the type of soft plastic to put on the end of these jigs is something with twin tails. Because when you start reeling it, since the jig doesn't have a wiggle of its own, the motion of the water against the lure will start their tails to wobbling, and it makes it look like something the fish want to eat. So I've been going down to the river, to the St. Lawrence River bank, and taking some of the concoctions I'm putting together, throwing them out, and see what they look like coming back through the water so I can make my plans. And I got to tell you, of all the tails I've put on, the twin tails, even some of the crayfish imitations that have long, thin claws like, when you start bringing that in, they wiggle, they wobble, and it makes that jig look alive. And so I'm pretty excited. So my tip to you is, if you want to try to do this and you don't have the time to go down to the St. Lawrence River and test out your lures, a twin tail grub, a twin tail. Some of the brands that really seem to look pretty good are made by Strike King. They're Rage Craws or the Rage Bug, or Yum has some lures that you can buy very cheaply that really look good on the back of these jigs. So it's something else to think about. But it might be something that early season the fish really go for. And it isn't as expensive as some of these very expensive crankbaits. Something maybe we all should give a try this year. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.